All right, so this is a bass that I've had in my live well pretty much since about 7 o'clock this morning. I'll put him back in here. He's been in there plenty of time, all day, 5 or 6 hours. He's doing just fine. You can see I've got a couple different functions on my boat that I'm going to show you about that helps me keep my fish alive. I've got the Marina oxygenators on just to show you. When you turn your oxygenators on, mine are on right now. There's nothing visible that you can actually see, but I promise you it's doing its job. You see those fish are real lively in there. But a couple things that you need to understand, very basic live well operation things that I'm going to tell you. Now on my boat, I actually have, let's see, I have 3 aerators, 3 ways of getting water to my live well. Here's my 3 aerator pump controls here, which are really important to me. This boat is equipped to where there's almost no way that I would never have a aerator, a way to get water in or out of my live wells. I've got an auxiliary fill, I've got an auto manual, and I have a recirc pump. All 3 different pumps to get water to my live well. What I like to do, I use the auxiliary fill when I get to my area first thing in the morning because it's going to be the fastest way of getting water and filling that live well up to the correct levels first thing in the morning. After I get it filled up, what I like to do is turn my auto manual pump on. I'll leave it on manual, turn it on, leave it for the rest of the day. I never use the timed auto. I almost always use the manual. And then you also have a recirc pump too that recirculates the water that's already in the live wells. Very important. This is my live well gate right here. You see that one right there. You got it recirc, empty, and auto. Let me tell you a little bit about what these 3 functions mean. Obviously, if I need to dump all the water out of the live wells, or if I want to change it out, I want to make it a little short run, what I'll do is just turn it to empty. And if I got a little short run, a little 3 or 4 mile run, I'll run all the water out real fast. And once I get to my new spot, turn it to auto. Auto is going to allow your pumps to pump new water from the lake inside to the into the boat, and that's the way I'll fill my live wells up, get them to the proper levels. You are 14 and a half, good buddy. You got that right. Well, let's get some water in here for you first. Auto fill, aerator, auto. Lay you in there, take a bath, enjoy yourself. Once I've got my live wells to the proper levels, what I like to do is turn it to recirc. Recirc is going to be the most secure setting for running. If you run, you will hold water on auto, but there's a good chance that if you make a long run, you're going to lose most of your water in your live wells. Right now, we're getting 90 degrees, 95-degree days, and the water temperature is finally starting to climb into the 80s, to the lower to mid 80s, and fish care becomes to be a little bit more touchy this time of the year. You can keep fish alive, I've kept them alive as hot as 95, 96-degree water. You just got to be very intentional about what you do with your live well. I really have become a believer in TH Marine G-Juice. This is something that does a lot of very important things. It stops fish from bleeding. If I deep hook one and I notice he has a little bit of blood on him, I'll put a little bit of this G-Juice right there where I see it bleeding. That'll help stop the bleeding. It replaces the slime coat. We know that's super important, especially in the summertime. You know, you're a lot of times in the summer tournaments, especially your weekend tournaments, they start extremely early, 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and you still fish to 3 o'clock, so you're holding your fish a lot longer than you normally would. So those fish can lose some of their slime coat in the live well. This guy will help you keep some of that slime coat on them. It removes a lot of the ammonia in your water as well. I know a lot of guys are worried about putting ice in their live wells and what that may do to harm the fish. Ice doesn't harm the fish. The chlorine in the ice will not harm the fish. The amount of chlorine in ice is so minute that there's no problem. You're not going to have any problems with that. But any kind of ammonia that you may have in your live wells, it takes all the heavy metals, chlorine, ammonia, any of that stuff that's in your water or in your live wells, it'll take that out for you. It also helps balance the pH that's in your water. So that's very important, especially in the summertime, and it's non-toxic. It's safe. If you get some on your hands, your fingers, or your kids, you know, you don't want to drink it. I wouldn't suggest it. It doesn't look like blue Kool-Aid though, but I wouldn't suggest that you drink it. And the other thing is it's got Gerald Swindle on the front of it, and that's always cool. So that's another reason to put it in your boat. But Ice, I do want to talk about ice a little bit. The best thing to do with your ice, if you do decide to use it, I think is a great idea. The cooler the water is, the more capacity it has to hold oxygen. So without getting into a very difficult and complicated science conversation, ice is good. All right, ice is good. Do you have to use it? Not necessarily. I think if the water is starting to get in those upper 80s and 90s, I think it's definitely a good case, a good time to use it, and I do use it then. But if you're at somewhere between 75 and 80, I think you're okay with the ambient temperature. You don't have to worry about the live wells heating up through the day. Couple things to do when you do put your ice in the live well. I almost always like to leave it in the bag. Don't dump the ice in the live well. Just dump it in your bag, almost like a big cube of ice that you want to put in your drink. All right, so it is a great idea to use ice, because if you keep that water temperature a few degrees cooler, it has a much larger capacity to hold more oxygen, which is great for your fish. What I like to do with my live wells, first thing I do when I get to my first spot in the morning is I'm going to turn my live well switch, the gate that opens and lets water in and out of my live well. I'll turn that to auto. I'll turn on my auxiliary fill. It's going to fill up my live wells the fastest. Turn on the auxiliary fill, and I'll get my live wells filled up to the level that I want them. Once they're where I want them to be, I'll put it on recirc. Put whatever additive that I want in my water, my G juice or whatever you guys like to use for your live well additive. And then I turn the auxiliary off, put it on manual. I swap it to manual, and I leave it for the rest of the day. Now, sometimes around, if let's say my weigh-in is at about 3 o'clock, or whenever I feel like the hottest part of the day, that's when I'll take my ice, put it in my live well, somewhere near the middle part of the day. I don't want to put it in the first thing in the morning, because all it's going to do is it's going to melt, and I'm not going to have it during the most important part of the day. So I usually wait till about midday, 4.5, 5 hours of fishing. Then I put my ice in the live well, got your additive in there, turn it on recirc, and recirculate that water. If you turn your live well gate to auto, and you start running your pumps, your aerators, you're actually cycling in water from outside of the boat into the boat. It's just continuously sucking water from outside of the boat, which is okay sometimes. But I want to close that guy off, put my live well additive in there, my ice in there, and recirculate the same water throughout the day. I usually change my water about twice during the day of tournament fishing. Just remember, every time that you change your water out in your live well, you're going to have to add your additive, and most of the time you're going to have to add new ice as well. So keep that in mind. What I do during extremely hot weather tournaments, even in the fall time, is I'll leave a compartment in the back of the boat completely open, and I'll store my ice in that compartment. You'll be surprised if you pack this compartment completely full of ice, how long that ice will last throughout the day. So that's a little bit about the way that I set up my live well system and how I operate it throughout the day of fishing. It's really, really important, especially this time of the year when we're starting to get some 90-degree weather. So make sure you guys take notes. Don't want to kill your fish. It's always a bad deal.